Look at you! You've ignored your training, and you've turned against all of your friends! And you're a loser!
One of the most popular and influential series of all time is Street Fighter. Without Street Fighter, it's doubtful that the fighting game genre would have taken off like it did. It's one of my favorite franchises ever, and has been a big part of my life. Like any franchise, there is a lot of trivia and information lost to time about Street Fighter. Enter the iceberg. The iceberg is something that you've probably seen on YouTube. The iceberg details various bits of information regarding a game or a franchise, ranging from obscure facts, development trivia, scrapped ideas, lost media, conspiracy theories, and everything in between. The upper levels are information that is commonly known and gets more obscure as you go down the iceberg. This was made by Raging Rowan on the r Kappa subreddit, and he gave me permission to use his iceberg for this video. I also added in some more stuff that I found interesting. Before I get into the iceberg, please hit that subscribe button and hit the bell as well to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Remember, those 2 simple clicks help me out, and they will help out any YouTuber you follow. So with that out of the way, let's begin the Street Fighter iceberg. How much do you know? One thing I will be referring to a lot in this video is the Shadaloo CRI website. The Shadaloo is an evil organization in the Street Fighter universe. An official website by Capcom called the Shadaloo Combat Research Institute has a lot of information about the series and the lore. Since it is an official website, anything that has an article on the CRI website is probably canon. Another thing I'm going to refer to here in the video is called the Satsui no Hado. If you don't know what that Satsui no Hado, sometimes called the Dark Hado, is the dark force in the Street Fighter universe. It comes out when a fighter is so consumed by hate and rage, they will do anything to win. Basically, forfeit your compassion and humanity for raw power. Akuma tapped into the Satsui no Hado to become the fighter that he is, at the expense of his humanity. Oni is what would happen if the Satsui no Hado totally consumes him. When Ryu taps into it, he turns into Evil Ryu. The antithesis to the Satsui no Hado is the power of nothingness, which is what Ryu and Gouken use for their powers. Several characters can tap into the Satsui no Hado, and it is a big part of the Street Fighter lore. Ryu Hoshi. Hoshi is the last name given to Ryu from the live action movie and the cartoon. Ryu Hoshi has been thrown out here and there are some fans who insist that it's his real name, but as far as Capcom has been concerned, Ryu is just that, Ryu. Shenlong. Shenlong is a character originating from Ryu's win quote in Street Fighter II. You must defeat Shenlong to stand a chance. This was supposed to be, you must defeat my Shoryuken, but it got lost in translation. Shenlong ended up being a bit of an urban legend, most famously from an April Fool's prank from EGM. While Shenlong hasn't appeared in the Street Fighter series proper, he does have official artwork from Capcom and was the inspiration for Akuma and Gouken. Charlie Nash. Originating from the Alpha games, Charlie was called Nash in Japan and Charlie everywhere else. The reason why they call him Charlie outside Japan is that Nash isn't really a natural first name for an American. A lot of people assume that his full name was Charlie Nash, but Capcom never clarified it. Capcom put this to bed once and for all with Street Fighter IV, calling Charlie Charlie Nash, and in Street Fighter V, he's just called Nash everywhere. Street Fighter II Rainbow Edition. Rainbow Edition is a hack of Street Fighter II that breaks the game in a number of ways, from overpowered characters to being able to switch characters mid-match. As a hack, it's guaranteed to never have a home port. That said, it does have a small cult following, and tournaments do happen from time to time. Kara Cancel. Kara Cancel is a technique used in various Street Fighter titles. Originally a glitch in Street Fighter II, some characters could cancel a normal that moves them forward or backward into a special move or a grab. It eventually became a deliberate part of the Street Fighter game design, such as Saga being able to Kara cancel his step kick into an uppercut. Since then, it has become a staple of fighting game design in general. Ingrid. Ingrid is an original character that was supposed to debut in the cancelled Capcom All-Stars. She made her official debut in the Capcom Fighting Evolution title and the PSP version of Street Fighter Alpha 3. Despite not having many appearances in the Street Fighter series, She is a part of the canon and has influence in the Street Fighter universe. It is speculated that her mixed reception in America is the reason why she hasn't appeared as a playable fighter yet. Name swaps. Capcom has had a bit of an issue with the name changes in different regions. Besides the aforementioned Charlie Nash, the three bosses are probably the most infamous. Bison is Vega in Japan, Balrog is Bison, and Vega is Balrog. The reason for the changes was due to the possibility of being sued by Mike Tyson, who Balrog has a lot of resemblance to. For international fans, some refer to Balrog as Boxer, Vega as Claw, and Bison as Dictator to make things easier. Additionally, Akuma is referred to as Goki in Japan. Omega Mode. Omega Mode is a joke mode added to Ultra Street Fighter 4 that intentionally breaks the game. Think of it like an official version of Rainbow Edition. It deliberately overtunes every character to the point of hilarity. Though when it first dropped, Gen found out to have a one-button infinite and no one played it. Violent Ken. Violent Ken originally made his debut in the animated movie, and SNK added him as an extra version of Ken to the SNK-developed SVC Chaos. He eventually made his official Capcom debut with the Switch-exclusive Ultra Street Fighter 2: The New Challengers, where he could be played with, alongside Evil Ryu. CPS-1 Chains. Street Fighter 2 was originally developed on Capcom's CPS-1 board. Versions on this arcade board allowed for characters to combo several light kicks into a punch button for major damage. This was a glitch and removed from the CPS-2 versions of Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter 1 Pneumatic Buttons. The original version of Street Fighter 1 had a unique button setup, where you get different attack strengths based on how hard you press the buttons. While an interesting idea, the pneumatic buttons were hard to maintain. For the sake of price and convenience, Capcom would adapt the traditional 6-button layout later. Ryu and Ken's appearance in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate pays tribute to the pneumatic buttons by having different attack strengths come out from how hard you press the attack buttons. Red Parry. A red parry is an advanced technique used in Street Fighter 3, the third strike. It's when you parry out of block stun. The timing is much stricter than a normal parry, but is useful in high-level play. Rival Schools. For those of you who don't know, Street Fighter is a shared universe. That means other Capcom titles are canon to the Street Fighter universe, such as Final Fight. One game that was debated about its relationship to the Street Fighter universe was Rival Schools. Sakura was a guest character in the first title, and Kyosuke was a guest character in Capcom vs. SNK 2. Despite him appearing in that title, he missed out on the handheld versions of Street Fighter Alpha 3, whereas his CVS2 co-stars Yoon, Maki, and Eagle were playable in the handheld versions of that title. So for a while, people were debating if Rival Schools and Street Fighter were in the same universe. But it seems like Capcom has put this to bed, as several Rival Schools characters make cameos in the Kanzuki Beach stage in Street Fighter V, and Akira will be playable in Street Fighter V. The details have yet to be seen, but it's safe to assume Rival Schools and Street Fighter do take place in the same universe. Street Fighter 2010. Street Fighter 2010 is a spin-off of the Street Fighter series released for the NES. The original Famicom version makes no reference to the Street Fighter universe, however, the localized version did. Even though it isn't canon to Street Fighter, and it's so far removed anyway it wouldn't make sense to fit in with Street Fighter, the lead, Kevin Straker, or Ken in the NES version, does have an official bio on the Shadowloo page. Ken Master. When Street Fighter 2 was blowing up in popularity, Hasbro got the rights to make merch of the series in the style of their G.I. Joe toy line. Perhaps to differentiate from Ken from Barbie, Hasbro named Ken to Ken Master, as seen in this commercial. Capcom must have liked the name, so they added S to Master, and since then, Ken has been called Ken Masters. Captain Commando. Captain Commando was a beat-em-up from Capcom that was set in the future of Metro City, aka the city in where Final Fight takes place in. Additionally, the game mentions that two characters were trained in the same RS guy, Bushin Ryu. Due to this, it is assumed that Captain Commando is canon to the Street Fighter universe. Go Hibiki. Go Hibiki is Dan's father, who is quite the fighter, unlike Dan. Go is responsible for taking out one of Sagat's eyes. In response, Saga killed Go in battle. While important to Dan's character, Go hasn't appeared much in the franchise. His most famous artwork is this one seen here, where Saga is carrying the body of a dead Go. Gotetsu. Gotetsu is Gokin and Okuma's master. In battle, Okuma killed Gotetsu after succumbing to the Satsui no Hado. The result of this was Gokin teaching Ryu and Ken a non-lethal style of martial arts. While not being playable, he has made appearances in other Street Fighter media, such as Alpha Generations and Assassin's Fist. He has official artwork from Capcom. Captain Sawada. Sawada is a character from Street Fighter the movie, portrayed by Kenya Sawada. Kenya was Capcom's original choice to play Ryu in the movie, but due to Kenya's poor English, as well as creative differences from the director of the movie, he was cast into an original character, Captain Sawada. Kenya wasn't happy about this, and only took the role due to obligations from Capcom. It's rumored that Kenya might have been moved to a Fei Long role, and he did have a cameo as Fei Long in the background in the movie The Game. Regardless, that fell through too. Sawada has only appeared in the movie, the game of the movie, and the animated show. He has a page on the Shadaloo CRI. Sarah. Sarah was the original name for Cammy in Super Street Fighter 2. Supposedly, this was changed at the last minute, as around the release of Super Street Fighter 2, The New Challengers, Virtua Fighter made its debut. One of Virtua Fighter's more popular characters is Sarah Bryant, a blonde female fighter. Perhaps to avoid confusion between two different Sarahs, Capcom renamed Sarah to Cammy, and the rest is history. Kaze no Ken. Kaze no Ken is a technique utilized by Ryu. It first appeared in the comic spin-off Street Fighter 3, Ryu Final. Ryu channels his ki and releases it into a single blow. It has made small cameos in the franchise, and was supposed to be Ryu's finisher in the unreleased Capcom Fighting All-Stars. Kaze no Ken is now Ryu's V-Trigger 2 in Street Fighter V. Shadow and Shadow Lady. Shadow and Shadow Lady are alternative versions of Charlie and Chun-Li, characterized by their dark color palettes. They are what-if characters, as in what would happen if Charlie and Chun-Li were captured by the Shadaloo and brainwashed to work for them. Shadow Lady is an unlockable bonus character in Marvel vs. Capcom 1, and is a boss in the extra battle in Street Fighter V. Billy and Sid. Billy and Sid were generic enemies added to the English versions of Final Fight for the Super Nintendo and Game Boy Advance, replacing Roxy and Poison due to the gender controversy at the time. Their only appearance to date is Final Fight 1 for the Super Nintendo and the Game Boy Advance. They have been mentioned in the CRI website, but don't have their own pages, so who knows where Billy and Sid are at now. Scott and Max. Scott and Max are two fighters from Street Fighter 2's iconic opening. Many thought that they were Joe and Mike from Street Fighter 1, but Capcom cleared it up. The two in the intro are original characters. Even though they haven't been playable in any capacity, they do make cameos in Street Fighter V. Dark Sakura. Sakura is the only female in the Street Fighter franchise so far that can tap into the Satsui no Hado. Unlike Akuma or Evil Ryu, Dark Sakura still maintains a large amount of her humanity, and she can perform her own Shun Gokusatsu. While Dark Sakura hasn't appeared in Street Fighter proper yet, she can be played as in Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter and Marvel vs. Capcom 2 as an Install Super. She also appeared in one of the Udon comics. Golden Stance. Golden Stance is a glitch done in early versions of Street Fighter 2 that locks Guile's character in place. It stops the game from ending the round, messes up AI patterns, and can start other glitches, such as Guile's infamous handcuff glitch. Realistic Street Fighter V concept. Early concept art of Street Fighter V had the game look a bit more realistic, in the same style as Dead Rising or Resident Evil. Some art has been leaked online. I couldn't find a reason, but whatever the case, Capcom scrapped this style for a more artistic look. The Hot Ryu alternate is a remnant of the early Street Fighter V concept. Peter. Peter is an NPC fought in Street Fighter V's story mode. He acts as a tribute to former Fighting Game Pro and former Capcom employee, Peter Combo Fiend Rosas, and is even voiced by Rosas. Even though he's just a lowly old security guard, many fans do hope he gets promoted to playable in the future. Shin Ryu. Shinryu is a form of Ryu seen in the Udon comics where he battles Oni. This is a form of Ryu that overcomes the Satsui no Hado and taps into the power of nothingness to balance the both and make a new, very powerful form of Ryu. It reminds me a lot of Ultra Instinct Goku. So far, the only appearance of Shinryu is in the Udon comics. Street Fighter V Pocky Edition. Pocky is a sponsor for Street Fighter V events in Japan, and during certain events, the snack can be seen advertised in some of the stages. Pocky had a challenge where you had to defeat your opponent when your health resembles a Pocky stick. Additionally, Pocky made a special package of Pocky, adorned with several characters enjoying the snack. Street Fighter II The Interactive Movie. Street Fighter II The Interactive Movie is a Japan-only FMV game for the Saturn and PlayStation. In it, the players play as a Shadaloo android sent to get data on various fighters while watching clips from the animated movie. In the end, you fight Ryu in a Super Turbo-inspired fight. There isn't a lot of interactivity, and Capcom has shown little interest in bringing this back. Victor Sagat. Victor Sagat was how Sagat was referred to in the American Street Fighter cartoon and the live-action movie. It might be a reference to the Darkstalkers character Victor, but no one knows where Victor came from. Why they chose the very Russian name Victor for the very Thai Sagat is beyond me. No other medium does Sagat have the first name, and Capcom pretends it doesn't exist. Bison 2 and Shin Bison. Bison 2 and Shin Bison are extra forms of Bison fought in the Street Fighter EX series. Bison 2 is fought in EX2, and Shin Bison is a boss in Street Fighter EX3, and made a comeback in Street Fighter V's Extra Battles. Both are fought after meeting certain requirements and are considered much more difficult than the standard Bison boss battles. Unblockable Take No Prisoners. Take No Prisoners is one of Rolento's signature super moves. In Street Fighter Alpha 3, Cody is unable to block this super. There is a theory that this might be corporal punishment from Rolento on the prisoner Cody. It more than likely is just a programming oversight or maybe an Easter egg. Kyle Travers. Kyle Travers is Cody's younger brother and protagonist in the game Final Fight Streetwise. Due to the poor reception of Streetwise, Kyle has not been seen in the Street Fighter universe since. The English version of the Shadaloo site implies that Streetwise isn't canon, but the Japanese version does acknowledge Kyle's existence. Whether he'll appear again in the future remains to be seen. Hadou Shoryuken. The Hadou Shoryuken is a reference to the anime Street Fighter II V, where Ken channels his ki into a Shoryuken that has a ki blast at the end of it. Ryu also performed the move in the anime. It would make an appearance again in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and is also an attack in Rainbow Edition, where doing a Shoryuken would cause Hadoukens on the ascent, and it is as broken and awesome as it sounds. Zombie Belger. The final boss in the Japan-only Final Fight Revenge was Zombie Belger, the bad guy from the Final Fight series. As a zombie, he can stretch his limbs like Dalsum, and can throw his limbs after losing them. Zombie Belger only appears in Revenge. Cycloids. The Cycloids are weapons developed by a very obscure character, Blaba, who is Pulam Purna's father from the EX series. They were invented to defeat the Shadaloo. Think of them like the wireframe fighters from the Super Smash Bros. Series, where they are faceless fighters that have moves from other characters. They only appeared as fighters in the EX series, but they do have articles on the Shadaloo website. Cannon Spike. Cannon Spike is a shooting game for the Dreamcast developed by Capcom. It features characters like Charlie, Cammy, BB Hood, and several other characters in a shooting title. It's a very obscure game and hasn't seen re-release. That said, Cammy got an outfit in Street Fighter V resembling her Cannon Spike look, and I really regret passing up on this title for $20 back in 2009. Street Fighter Assassin's Fist. Released on Machinima and produced by Capcom, Assassin's Fist was a live-action web series. It focuses on Ryu and Ken's training, as well as other parts of the Street Fighter lore, such as Akuma's conflict with the Satsui no Hado, and eventual bout with Gotetsu. It was well received and led to another live-action tie-in, Street Fighter Resurrection. Dan's Shungokusatsu. Dan harbors a bit of resentment towards Saga due to Sagat killing his father. As a result, Dan can tap into the Satsui no Hado. Dan has his own Shungokusatsu called Otokomichi. Road of the Man. In true Dan fashion, it either hurts him or does no damage. That said, in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, it does do amazing damage, and in SVC Chaos, it does not damage Dan. Because Dan can tap into the Satsui no Hadol and wanted to get into fighting to avenge his father, Goken passed up on teaching Dan. Carlos Blanca. In the live-action movie, there was a bit of a mess up with the continuity. It was implied that Charlie, called Carlos for whatever reason, was captured by the Shadowloo and turned into Blanca. Basically, they took Charlie's character and put him into Blanca's story, ignoring the fact that Blanca has a canon name, Jimmy. Seeing as Capcom barely acknowledges the movie or the Western show, it's likely Carlos Blanca will just be forgotten to time. Yoon in Street Fighter Alpha 3. In the updated versions of Street Fighter Alpha 3 for the portable systems, Yoon from Street Fighter 3 made a playable appearance. When quotes from Yoon imply that he's in Alpha 3 due to time travel. Given that his first appearance was in Street Fighter 3, which, chronologically speaking, is the last game in the Street Fighter timeline. How he time traveled to the events of Alpha 3 are unknown. It might be Psycho Power, or maybe Ingrid brought him to Alpha 3. Whatever the case, Yoon's appearance in Alpha 3 is considered non-canon. Street Fighter 2 Yomigaeru Fujiwara Kyo. Translated as Return to the Fujiwara Capital, Fujiwara Kyo is an educational movie starring Ryu, Chun-Li, Ken, and Honda as they travel back in time to the ancient capital of Japan, Fujiwara, with Ken explaining Japanese history to Ryu as they locate Chun-Li and Honda. This was a collaboration between Capcom and Nara City, where Fujiwara was once located. The movie was only distributed on VHS at an event in the 90s, and as a result, hardly anybody knew about its existence, but got redistributed on DVD for Street Fighter's 15th anniversary. Seth's Street Fighter V moves. In Street Fighter V, Seth got a total overhaul to make him more unique from his appearance in 4, as well as fit the 5 engine more. While Seth in 4 stole moves from the Street Fighter II roster, 5 Seth steals moves from other Capcom fighters. Cruel Disaster takes from Rufus's Galactic Tornado, and Jun's Comet Kick from Plasma Sword. Annihilate Sword has a lot in common with Makoto's Tsurugi Axe Kick. Mad Cradle is similar to Dimitri's Dragon Punch from Darkstalkers, and his Rapid Punch is very similar to Jotaro's Ora Ora or Dio's Muda Muda Rapid Punch attacks from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Heritage for the Future. In the English version of Street Fighter V, Seth even says useless, furthering the shoutout to JoJo's. Master Ryu. In Extra Battle, one of the opponents you can face is Master Ryu, a Ryu who has mastered martial arts and has access to unique combo routes that normal Ryu doesn't have. Being an extra boss battle, and not looking too much different from normal Ryu, it's more than likely just a fun boss to fight against. With that said, it probably sounds like the closest thing we'll get to Shin Ryu in the official games. Extra students. In the Japanese version of Project Justice, you could create your own student in a board game mode. Due to the amount of text needed to be translated, this was scrapped for the international release. As a compromise, Capcom included extra fighters in the international release, made from characters from the character creator mode. Phantom. Phantom is a side character shown in the Street Fighter V side story, Toxicity. Fong is blackmailed by a prostitute and her brother in Shanghai, and in response gives the two 3 choices: a stack full of poisoned money, a dagger that will cut off their hands, or neither and be set free. The prostitute instead asks Fong about the engravings on the dagger, as she never learned how to read. Impressed with her resolve, Fong dubs the prostitute Phantom and will teach her the ways of the assassin. A plot thread for Street Fighter VI, perhaps. Extra isms. In Alpha Anthology, Hyper Street Fighter Alpha added additional isms that reference other Capcom fighters, such as Third Strike and Darkstalkers. Due to the console-specific nature of the extra isms, as well as the simple fact that these isms haven't existed in other re-releases of the Alpha games, not many people know extra isms exist, and they're only there if you want to mess around with them. Shin. Shin is the protagonist from the obscure Street Fighter spin-off, Street Fighter Online, The Mouse Generation. He's a Korean Taekwondo student and general nice guy, which is a very direct contrast from fellow Taekwondo practitioner Judy. His outfit also might be a shout out to Charlie's. Shin's only appearance is in The Mouse Generation, but he does have official art and a bio on the Shadowloo page. Street Fighter Online, The Mouse Generation. The Mouse Generation was a versus game made by Capcom for Japan. It had a unique control setup that was played entirely by a mouse, as well as a character customization feature. As a crossover, it featured characters from Street Fighter, rival schools, novelist Jin Yong, and the manga Cyborg 009. I used to love that show. It was announced and released prior to Street Fighter IV and never exported outside Japan. Zeku is the original Strider. Zeku is a character added to Street Fighter V. He's Guy's mentor and a walking reference to the Strider franchise. It's hinted that Zeku created the Strider organization, coming up with a name, his ninja garb being very similar to Hideyo's, and him recruiting several Street Fighter characters into his organization in his arcade ending. One title you can unlock with Zeku is called Original Strider. It isn't stated, but the signs point towards Zeku creating the Strider organization. Street Fighter II - Turbo. Street Fighter II has had many updates. The updated version of Street Fighter II Turbo Hyper Fighting is called Street Fighter II - Turbo in Japan. Sadler. Sadler is the main antagonist from the movie Street Fighter Alpha, the animation. He wants to be the strongest fighter in the world, and does that by stealing data from every fighter. He wants Ryu's Satsui no Hado, and eventually gets it. Thankfully, Ryu and Ken defeats him at the end of the movie. To date, Sadler's only appearance is in Alpha the animation, though there is a possibility that the Resident Evil villain is named after him. Fuka and the Old Man from Alpha Generations. In the animated movie Street Fighter Alpha Generations, Ryu stays at a dojo with an unnamed old man and his adoptive granddaughter, Fuka. Who these characters are in the Street Fighter universe is a mystery. It's implied that Fuka might be Gouken or Akuma's daughter, but it isn't clear. The old man, on the other hand, is shown to be quite the capable fighter and trains Ryu before he goes to fight Akuma. He is said to be an acquaintance of Gouken and was the one who took in Ryu when he was a newborn, after he lost his parents. Given that he easily defeats Ryu in a fight in the movie and fights Ken to a standstill, it's safe to assume he is one of the more powerful characters in the Street Fighter lore. Sadly, he passes away at the end of the movie. Spoiler alert. Given that Alpha Generations takes a lot of liberties with the Street Fighter lore, it's safe to assume that it isn't canon and we'll probably never see Fuka or the old man again. Japan Sumo Cup. As a form of promotion in Japan, Capcom made a browser rhythm game to promote the Japan Cup, a horse racing event. In the game, you can pick your favorite Street Fighter character or sumo wrestler and ride a horse. It's a bizarre game, and due to the Japan-centric nature of it, it never got exposure outside of Japan. Curiously, despite being released in 2015 and having Street Fighter IV's aesthetic, Nakali was a playable character in Japan's Sumo Cup prior to his debut in Street Fighter V. The movie was the original Street Fighter III. According to Alan Noon, one of the people who worked on Street Fighter the movie the game was envisioned as a proper Street Fighter III. Some of the planned characters in this very early state included a female version of Geki, Retsu, Lee, Gunlock, and even Mega Man. Some of these ideas might have evolved into the actual Street Fighter III roster, like Ibuki taking a lot from Geki, Lee being the basis for Yun and Yang, and Gunlock being a blonde wrestler like Alex if we're really stretching things here. However, during the early planning of Noon's 3, Capcom informed his team that the game was to be based on the movie, and Noon's version of 3 never came to the surface. Kensei Mogura. Kensei Mogura is Street Fighter Whack-A-Mole. Instead of moles, you're whacking M bisons. Interestingly enough, there is a screen showing a fight. If you do well in the Whack-A-Mole title, you do better in the fight. It has a cool art style, and for a Whack-A-Mole title, it's impressive how involved this title is. If you've seen or played this in person, please let me know in the comments. And subscribe, why don't ya? The storytelling game. In the early 90s, White Wolf, a publishing company, made a tabletop RPG using Street Fighter. There were 6 books released in the series, and due to how early this was released in the franchise's life, it took a lot of liberties and introduces a lot of characters that are stuck in the storytelling game. It's out of print and didn't sell all that well, but it does have a cult following. Flashback. A rejected spin-off for the Street Fighter franchise was Flashback, a proposed fighter with a single-player mode that focused on Ryu. It would have had different control layout as well as different special move inputs. In the fighting mode, there would have been an idea of rewinding time to undo a mistake or a combo, kind of like the rewind mechanic from Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. This, being a pitch, never got too far off the ground, only existing as documentation. Street Fighter II Ride. At amusement parks, you've probably been on a ride where you are on a seat that moves along with a movie. I like the Transformers ride from Universal Studios Singapore. Anyway, Street Fighter II had a ride and, well, the answers speak for itself. Human Killing Machine. Human Killing Machine is an unofficial sequel to Street Fighter I, pitched by Tiertex to Capcom. Capcom rejected their pitch as they were developing their own follow-up. Human Killing Machine eventually became its own game, where you play as Quan and fight many world warriors on one-on-one fighting. Final Fight 7 Sons. 7 Sons was a prototype for a 3D Final Fight title. It was in development for the PlayStation 2 and was supposed to be more in line with the classic titles. However, at the time, Grand Theft Auto was blowing up in popularity, and Capcom wanted something similar. 7 Sons was scrapped in favor of Streetwise, which everybody hated. Street Fighter World Warrior. World Warrior, not to be confused with the video game Street Fighter II: The World Warrior or the planned follow-up to Assassin's Fist. This World Warrior was a small YouTube pitch for a live-action Street Fighter series. It centers around Ken trying to find Ryu, but runs into Chun-Li, who is Ryu's ex-girlfriend. Production was rough, as the original actor for Ken was involved in an accident, and Ken was recast at the very last moment before filming. Thanks to this, the low budget, and general obscurity of the pitch, it never went anywhere. The Ghost. The Ghost is a kickboxer from Final Fight Streetwise, who might be Joe from the original Street Fighter. Due to how ambiguous this character is, plus Capcom and the general public forgetting about Streetwise, it's likely Ghost will remain just that, a ghost. Street Fighter II V British dub. Street Fighter II V is an animated adaptation of Street Fighter II that takes a lot of liberties with the story. 2V had 2 English dubs, one made in America from Manga Entertainment and Animes, and a British dub by ADV Films, curiously recorded in Houston, Texas. While the manga dub was released on DVD and is easy to find, the ADV dub never got the same attention. A few episodes of the dub have been released online, but the remaining ADV dub is considered lost media. Akuma smiling. In official art and in-game, it's rare to see Akuma or Shin Akuma with anything other than a mean look, and when he does smile, it's usually not a good thing. However, in Elena's ending to Ultra Street Fighter IV, Akuma does crack a friendly smile, and to my knowledge, this is the first time Akuma has smiled in-game, and it's not with murderous intent. The Ferret. The Ferret is a reference to the short-lived Malibu comic adaptation of Street Fighter. While licensed by Capcom, the series was plagued by poor, inconsistent art and bad writing. Ryu is a notable jackass in the comic, and most notorious of all, the comic had Ken get scalped. Ken would have been brought back had the series continued, but Capcom wasn't having any of it, and yanked the license from Malibu after this event. Original DJ design. Of the original Street Fighter II cast, only DJ was designed by the American side. This was not the first design of the character. The original DJ design from Capcom Japan was considered way too offensive. A quote I found was, "too racist to be viewed by humans." The original design is locked in a Capcom vault, and likely due to the offensive nature of it, it will never be seen again. Given some of Capcom's questionable choices, I would love to see the original design. Dead Children Theory. In Street Fighter IV, in the bridge stage, several children can be seen watching the fight in the background. There is a theory online that these children were killed near the bridge and are stuck in limbo. The lyrics to the stage's song say, "It won't be long until I see you," implying that they will meet their parents again in the afterlife. How they died is unknown, perhaps killed by the Shadowloo, or from a bridge accident. This is prime creepypasta material, and if it was 2009 again, someone should totally make that. Korean Street Fighter cartoon and movie. In the early 90s, Korea released their own Street Fighter cartoon and movie that is very different from the Street Fighter lore. In the cartoon, it is set after World War III. Two Korean youth find that the game has become real. There's no Ryu and Ken, instead we focus on two original characters who interact with the Street Fighter II characters, such as Blanka and Chun-Li. Even more obscure than that is the live-action Korean movie, which was released in either 91 or 92. This is reverse lost media, where we have the product but know nothing about how it came to be. If anyone knows anything about the live-action movie, I'm all ears. Both the cartoon and the live-action movie are unauthorized by Capcom, so that means a re-release of either will likely never happen. Final Fight Amiga character deaths. In the Amiga version of Final Fight, there was a planned Where Are They Now ending for each of the characters that detailed what happened to them after the events of the title. These endings also included their deaths. Guy got a dignified death, Cody drank himself into a young grave, and Hager molested sheep and caught a disease from a dirty telephone. Yes, someone wrote that and was about to put it in. In a related note, there is a lot of unused text in the Amiga version, and the developer even put in an Easter egg video of himself in this version that allowed for the cheat mode. American Dad vs. Family Guy Kung Fu 2. Sometime in the mid-2000s, the official Family Guy page made a fighter inspired by Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter called American Dad vs. Family Guy Kung Fu 2. You could play as various characters from both franchises in this title, and Ryu makes an appearance as the final boss, reusing his Street Fighter 2 sprite. I'm not sure how or why this happened, but it did. Given how many references to Street Fighter are in Family Guy, I guess this is a dream project for the team. Future Cops. Future Cops is an unofficial Street Fighter movie from China and the first time the characters would grace the big screen. Words cannot describe, just watch. Playable Obama. In the Mouse generation, as a joke, Barack Obama was playable. Yes, you could do Barack Obama vs. Cyborg 009 if you wanted. Yes, this is real. I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume that Barry was never asked about the Mouse generation. In a related bit, Obama was in Las Vegas at the same time as EVO 2010, which caused a lot of headaches for those in charge of EVO. I don't think Obama was in Vegas for EVO, but I choose to believe so. Street Fighter Alf. Street Fighter Alf is this awesome shirt I got from Albuquerque, New Mexico. My sister also got me this really cool Street Fighter 2 shirt from Hot Topic. Anyway guys, that is the Street Fighter Iceberg Explained. I hope you had fun watching it because it was a lot, but it wasn't that hard to edit, it wasn't that hard to research, and it was a lot of fun to do. I've been wanting to do an Iceberg video for a while now, and I thought, hey, this would be the perfect time to get on the Iceberg boat. I love Street Fighter, and shouts to Raging Rowan over on Reddit for making the original Iceberg, and shouts to you if you made it all the way to the end of the video. You are a true world warrior. So before I sign off, let me know down there in the comments, who's your favorite Street Fighter character, or are there any other icebergs I should take on? And while you're down there commenting, why don't you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell as well for notifications on future videos. You can see more awesome content like this in the future. And if you're curious about me and my social life here in Japan, follow me up on the social media. Twitter, Instagram @ZMangs. And with that, I will sign off for now, and I'll see you in the next video. Later, everybody. Take it easy.